You cannot invent and pioneer if you cannot accept failure.
We wanted people that were insanely great at what they did.
Nobody was making any money at all. Most people thought the internet was going to be a fad.
Today on the podcast, I want to talk about how you can 2x your business in 10 minutes. It sounds crazy. It probably is, but stick around. Let's see if this can help you. Okay, so for context, I want you to ask yourself a question, and I find myself asking myself this every Friday for whatever reason. And it's, am I focusing on the right things? Not just like the things that need to get done. That's easy. You know the fires that are burning, right? It's really, are you focusing on the things that could have a huge impact, right? Another thing is when things get busy, I fall into what I call the comfort work trap. Think of it as like comfort food, right? You know, things are going a million miles a minute. There's a lot going on. You're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'll check email. I'll check Slack. I'll do that thing I know I can do. And the problem with that is you might be really good at updating the spreadsheet or making a contract, and you're doing a 10 out of 10 execution on that thing, but it's a 2 out of 10 when it comes to a level of impact. So as I find myself struggling with this, I also realize that as a business owner, this isn't just like negatively impacting me, it's negatively impacting my team, my business, and the overall results that we can have. So I've been really pushing myself to think of how can I do something that'll have a huge impact. And I'm trying to take pressure off myself and look at what are the quick wins I can do. I call it business jujitsu, where how can I flip the script to find the things that are hard, find the things that are slowing growth, and do this framework of what if they were easy? What if they were quick? And one thing that really inspired this was reading from Naval, right? So for those of you like, hey, what's Naval got to do with this? And then who is this guy? So Naval is an entrepreneur. He's an angel investor. He's the co-founder of AngelList, a platform for startups to raise funds and connect with investors. But he's become this almost like Buddha of the startup world for his insights on investing, entrepreneurship, and personal development. And he really goes deep in the book that Eric Jorgensen wrote on him on this idea of leverage, right? And there's lots of quotes that he hits on with leverage, right? Leverage is the most powerful thing. He talks about the quote from the Greek mathematician Archimedes, who says, "Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the earth." He talks about you can get rich by owning equity in businesses. That is the best form of leverage. And that technology is the ultimate form of leverage because it can scale infinitely with no marginal costs of replication. So let's connect the dots on these two, right? So as you ask yourself, what can you do that will have an outsized impact on the business? You need to look at what are the things you can do where leverage comes into play. So there's different types of leverage. If you're running a business or working on something and you have the leverage of money, I can just hire people and give them money and they will run customer acquisition for me. They'll run fulfillment or whatever that is. People is another one, delegating things to a virtual assistant or to a chief revenue officer. Technology is a huge component of leverage. Instead of doing manual tasks, how can you use technology to do that? Use AI to do that. And then another form of leverage is content, right? How can you invest in content that can scale? So instead of doing one-to-one talks, you could turn that into a podcast or to a blog post that could get picked up. And so that's something that I ask myself, am I focusing on this thing that has leverage to it? So, all right. So with that in mind, I start to look at, okay, where should I focus? And I like to start with the problems. I call it the kind of bottleneck mindset. So ask yourself, where are you hitting roadblocks with growth? What is stopping you? It could be top of the funnel, like, hey, I don't have enough traffic, or I don't have enough leads. I don't have a strong conversion rate, or our sales process is too long. I don't have a sales team to take all the calls. It could be, hey, we don't have enough product to ship for inventory, or we can't fulfill, things like that. Or, man, we can grow, but it's dependent on paid. It's dependent on organic. Are there ways to engineer virality? And so I'm going to get into what we're doing with GrowthHit and our brand need to kind of run this on ourselves. But I'm a huge fan of frameworks. I'm a huge fan of, models to deploy. So think of this as, I want to give you what I would call, what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 9 tools in your tool belt to think about how you can 2x your business by making these tweaks in under 10 minutes. So let me give you some options here. Okay, we'll start with the first one. The first is focusing your time on copy and creative for your ad campaigns. Because if we talk about money being a big leverage point and deploying that into ads, what if you went all in to be black belt there, right? Those small tweaks can really help double results, right? And so clear examples of that, Dollar Shave Club, their video, investing in that was huge for the outcome of that business. Okay, let's go to another example, outbound efforts. I look at this as like filling the funnel. And I think I was talking to a consultant around this. It's like, hey, how much outbound do you do? I'm like, oh, we send like 10 emails a day. We're doing stuff. He's like, okay, that's great, but that sample size is tiny, right? You've got to have meaningful sample size. It's like go from 20 a day to 200 per day. And again, leveraging technology like Smart Leads AI to do that. And that kind of opened my eyes like, oh, that makes total sense. Well, let's go to the third one. You can have leverage when we talk about content in your creative offer, right? I'm a huge fan of the Alex Hormozy formula around the irresistible offer. And we've talked about that a bunch here. All right, now I want to give you some tools in your tool belt to go through these 9 kind of options to think through how you could 2x your business in 10 minutes. Okay, so the first tool in the tool belt is around your ad copy and your ad creative. If we look at deploying money as a big component to leverage, how can you get innovative there to make your results 2x or 10x? So some clear examples that I have there are, one, Dollar Shave Club. What they did with their ad campaign and viral video was huge. If they would have just outsourced that and not done it themselves, we probably wouldn't be talking about them today. Another one is with Spanx. Whenever they launched shapewear, they were so big on the positioning of it and not selling the features or benefits. They sold a use case. And the use case of wearing Spanx under a dress so it doesn't show any rolls and you're not self-conscious, that got them to 8 figures. Another one that I want to talk about is this book. This book came out in the 80s by Nora Hayden, 1982, and it was called Astrological Love, which, what does that even mean? It sold 5,000 copies and it just kind of died on the bookshelves. So they're like, this book is good, but how do we like rethink this? So the publisher worked with her to change the title. And here's the updated title: How to Satisfy a Woman Every Time and Have Her Beg for More. And the results within 18 months is that they sold 2.3 million copies. That is copy leverage at its finest right there. The next one I want to go to is outbound efforts. This is something we were doing, and I was working with a consultant. Like, do you do outbound? I'm like, oh, absolutely, we're doing outbound. We send 20 emails a day. I was very proud of myself. Like, okay, that's cute, but that sample size is so insignificant. It's going to take forever to validate it if it's working. Add a 0 to that. Send 200. And by the way, leverage technology to pull that off using like Smart Leads AI. And this has been transformative to start to leverage that. All right, the third one. Let's go to activation offers, kind of in the spirit of leveraging content. I'm a huge fan of this. I've talked about this a bunch. Alex Hormozy in his book, $100 million offer, goes through his irresistible offer formula. And I think one of the most iconic ones was Domino's Pizza, right? Where, hey, order your pizza. If we don't get it to you in under 30 minutes, the pizza's free and it's on us. that one offer was everything that propelled them to a delivery service model that really helped them land and expand. Just by focusing on that one offer, had an exponential return. Okay, the next one to get into is automation. With automation, how can you use tools, set up something once so it goes on again and again? So, the example I want to talk about right now is the Hotmail example. So, Hotmail was really one of the first ones to do what is now kind of like the Gmail equivalent of email. And it wasn't taking off. They couldn't get people to care about it, but they did one small thing. At the bottom of every email, they put a message that would go on every basically free account. And it said, P.S. I love you. Get your free email at Hotmail. So every time you sent an email, it had this automated message that essentially functioned as a mini billboard on all these inboxes. And that one little addition allowed them to go to 12 million users in 18 months on the back of that addition after they kind of floundered for a few years. Okay, the next one I want to get into is media buying, right? So one of the most iconic examples of this right now is True Classic. They've been able to go from idea to 150 million in sales by leveraging the Facebook algorithm, creative content, and being black belt at media buying. So again, leveraging technology and creative together is what's allowed them to go to that next level. All right. Platform leverage is a big one, right? What are platforms or other channels that you can take advantage of to get your message out there? So, example with this podcast I'm doing right now, for a while we would just publish it, and I'm like, hey, what if we just automatically put this on YouTube? We literally click a button, and we've had some of our videos get six figures. We had one get 1 million views, all because I clicked a button to publish this on another channel, right? Another iconic example is Airbnb, where you would have a listing in the early days and they would automatically publish it to Craigslist. They eventually got banned for Craigslist, but that's how they got so many early adopters in the early days. Okay, let's go to the seventh tool in your toolbox for 2xing your business in 2 minutes. This one's probably the simplest one to do. You could do this in 5 seconds, and it's pricing. Double your pricing, raise your pricing. Another thing is stop selling one product, start doing bundles, stop doing one-time purchases and do subscriptions. What are you doing for upsells, cross sells? It's funny, people that buy companies a lot of times will buy the company and then just add a zero to the price or raise it by $100 and then they've doubled the business. All right. Retention. Okay. With retention, what I'm thinking through is if you look at the buying cycle of your customers, if it's once a quarter or every 6 months, how can you compress that, right? And how can you be really good at educating them on how to come back and use your product or service more? And it's really getting strong at email, SMS to bring people back. We do this a lot of times with our clients at the agency. If people are just neglecting email, that is a low hanging fruit and a good way to double business. And then finally, product. What are some things you can do with your existing product to get a kind of 2x return with a small effort? So with product, some examples I'm thinking through is with Dropbox. Whenever they launched, they had so many issues with customer acquisition. Paid ads were super expensive. So they tweaked their product. They're like, you know what? We're going to make it free. And if you invite people, we're going to give you more cloud storage. That one tweak to their product got them to $1 billion valuation. It was from inception to their IPO, the number one driver of new customer acquisition, that one tweak. And then Airbnb. With Airbnb, they got a lot of traffic, started to get traction, but they could not get sales. And the reason is people didn't trust the platform. And with the platform, it was because it was all user-generated content. So they launched a feature of free professional photography. So whenever they launched in New York, Brian Chesky's going door to door, taking professional photos. They got their percent of listings to be over 70% with professional photos. And there's a fun chart that shows they're up and to the right rocket or hockey stick, and it's all on the back of professional photography. So those are 9 tools in your tool belt to try and 2x your business in 10 minutes. So ad copy and creative, outbound efforts, creative offers, automation, media buying, platform leverage, pricing, retention, and product tweaks. So you're probably like, okay, Jim, that's great, but are you eating your own dog food here? What are you doing? So I'm going to talk about what we're testing with our brand Neat Apparel, consumer company, and with GrowthHit to try and 2x our business in 10 minutes. Okay, so Neat, let's start with that one. So this one, we've actually pulled this off. It's a small scale. We're not like talking millions or billions, but percentage wise, I've more than hit this, but don't ask me the actual numbers. So pricing, we acquired the company. We immediately raised prices by basically $4 per shirt. The other thing we did is we stopped marketing to buy one shirt of $40 or to $44. Instead, we only market bundles of $90, $120. The other thing we've done is incentives at the cart. If you spend a certain amount, you get free shipping. If you spend a certain amount, we give you a free shirt. This has taken our average order value from basically $40, $50 to over $100, right? So that was huge. Another issue we have is how we sell. We have sold out of product, which is great, but it's also a problem because we can't make money. So now we're testing pre-orders as inventory is coming in late summer and early fall. How can we get people to activate with pre-orders? This is about to go live in a couple weeks, so we'll see if this even works. But those are things we're thinking through on how to kind of 10x or 2x this business. Some other things we've done is reactivation of email and updating the flows. We're about to invest more in creative for media buying, similar to True Classic. That's where I'm putting my energy. Okay, let's go to GrowthHit. How are we going to 2x this business in 10 minutes? Okay, so let's talk about, with this one, I went with the framework of what are the bottlenecks in a service-based business? And guess what? There's a lot of them. And so one of the bottlenecks is around, getting leads, booking a call, doing a demo, getting pricing, doing an audit. Our close time could be 30 days or 45 days. What if we flip that on its head and made it 5 days? So we've tested, instead of selling people in a big retainer, what if we do a one-time growth roadmap for you at a very almost like impulse purchase price? That allowed us to close 5 deals last week by doing that. Is it scalable? I don't know. We'll see. Another thing that we're testing is we have issues with fulfillment if we, fill up our team where we can't take on more clients. However, our biggest bottleneck is doing meetings and one-to-one work. But if we can work asynchronously, we can take on a lot more clients. So this is in our product tweak where we're actually testing an asynchronous offer with no meetings that's cheaper for clients, but allows us to take on more. And then finally, lead gen experiment. This is something where we're putting our foot on the gas with our ad creative and ad copy. We've been able to get our cost per lead down. It was like $500 to $100. We're also testing partner channels through tech partners and other organizations, and then investing in content. So we'll see if these pull off or if these kind of have strong results. But those are some things that we're testing on how we can kind of 10x the business. Oh, sorry, 2x. I can't get that right. 2x the business in 10 minutes. So hopefully this is helpful for you as you're trying to navigate where do you put your time and how do you have a big impact. So I've been writing this down on a Post-it to kind of recenter myself of when I have this deep work and focus time, am I focusing on the things that can propel us to the next level? So I'd love to know what you think on this approach and this framework or anything you would add to it. But thanks for your time. And if you like this type of episode, I'll be doing more. And just so you know, I'm launching a book or a e-product. It's a whole program called the Growth Marketing Operating System. And it talks about these different frameworks and tactics you can do as you create a system for running growth. And this is one of the exercises that I've been playing around with our own brands to see how effective it is so I can share it with you all. But thank you guys. So this framework is actually a part of the growth marketing operating system. This is a product, an e-product that I'm launching later this year, where I basically give the system we use for running growth. A lot of people come to me, they don't know how to maximize their resources for marketing, their ad budget, and they have limited ones. So they want to be very, very thoughtful with it. So after we've worked with 150 plus brands, we've come up with some systems that have helped solve this problem. So that's what we're going to be sharing. And this toolkit is one of those that is in it, as far as how do you 2x your business in 10 minutes? And how can we put a thought process and structure behind it? So whenever you're in a strategy or planning session, this is a part of it. So if you're interested in that, in the notes, I put a link to that product that you can check out. But would love your feedback. So hopefully this was helpful today.